from your point of view, it's just so cool for me to see all of you on this screen, this very impressive cast. I know Christopher Lloyd is someone you've idolized for a long time, and then you're also working with these really exciting younger actors as well. What was it like for you to finally get a chance to work with Chris? And then what was your experience like working with, all of these other exciting people in the cast?
Well, I mean, it was a tremendous experience just as an actor to be, it's a collaborative medium, and no matter what anybody tells you, you can only be as good and do things good as the material, as the director, as the other actors in it. And in that sense, it's like so profoundly lucky for me. It was one of those cases where it was hard for me to understand. I read the script and thought, well, nobody's passed on this, so I must be the first person, and I can't quite believe it. And I was really, really grateful. And then the cast got populated around me, and I met this guy, and we worked together, and he was so fabulous. And I knew George and Grant well, and I really liked them and loved working with them. And I mean, every once in a while, like something really great happens in your life, and you just sort of hope that you're ready and able to capitalize on that. And it showed up and to work with Lily, where you just, if you're lost or confused, as I frequently am in scenes, and I wonder what I should do next. She's sort of like the life raft, as you're flailing around in the ocean, and you can okay, I'll just follow her. And Chris, yes, when Back to the Future came out, I thought, well, that ends the debate about the best picture ever made, and that's it. And then I saw him. He was the first celebrity I ever saw in real life, walking around the streets of Boston. I think doing a play there, although I've been too shy to really follow up with Chris and ask him that, because I'm still too starstruck and intimidated. But yes, in all senses across the board, and ending with George, who, as a director, it's just everything sort of comes down from the top, and he created this enormously welcoming, safe, beautiful atmosphere where you felt like you could succeed, and you felt like you could take chances, and you felt as though people were working collectively and rooting for one another. And one of his many, many gifts is his deep understanding of actors and what it is that will help us be successful, and his tremendous affinity for and fondness and compassion for actors. And it shows, I think it's he is sort of his formative years. I get the sense where, he still sees himself as that guy showing up in LA and, sleeping on Grant's couch, or Grant sleeping on his couch, or them both sleeping on the couch together, or whatever it was. And, trying to make it in this business. And he has a lot of compassion for how hard that is, and how much rejection it is, and how much self-doubt can be involved in that, and how when you get a chance to do something, you really want to be afforded the best opportunity to succeed. And he's very generous in that he gives that to everyone else. And in particular to me, I feel my performance benefited so much from his experience and wisdom and talent and his generosity to say, like, try this and try that, and invariably made the scenes better. So usually you get on these things, in these interviews, and you sort of bullshit and say, hey, I liked everybody and it was great. And it's very nice to actually be able to tell the truth.
Good. Daniel, it's such a cool kind of 21st century story of your mom shooting the video, which went viral, and then ended up on Joel McHale's Instagram, and then you're on Jimmy Kimmel, and George and Grant see it, and who is this kid? And here you are in your first movie. I'm curious to know, when you got the part and thought about what this experience would be like, was doing this movie and acting for the first time easier or harder than you thought it would be?
To be honest, it was easier than I thought it would be.
And that's why he's good in the movie.
But the first scene I was kind of nervous, but then after it, I said, oh wait, what? No reason to be nervous, this is easy. So then the rest of the scenes, I just wasn't nervous, we just filmed it, had a good time, and I loved the experience. It was so good, and when my mom actually told me I got the part, I was so happy, and I was running all around the house because I was so happy. And
what did George tell you to make you not nervous? What did he tell you not to do?
Not to look directly into the camera, because then you get nervous.
Grant, if you learned that lesson, things could have been very different today.
I know. I'm looking in the camera right now, and look.
There you go. You can't stop.
I've got my glasses off. I don't even know where the camera is.
Tye, here's another question that came in. And it's so interesting because not only are you and Daniel in this movie together, but you actually have a scene together, which is such a unique thing. But the question is, in playing the same character at different ages, how closely did you two work together to be able to do that and make the performances consistent?
Well, we didn't really get to work too closely. I mean, there was a lot of overlap. We were shooting on the same days, and we would often have lunch together, and so, we got to know each other a little bit off camera. And it wasn't actually the scene that you're referring to wasn't originally, it wasn't in the screenplay that I read when the project first came my way, and it was more of an idea, I think, that, that George had been playing around with, this idea of, the clash of these two characters, really, a confrontation of, his younger self, to confront his direction in life. And, he told me, like 3 or 4 weeks into production, hey, I'm working on this really cool scene. It's between you and Daniel. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, it's this, dream scene. I think it's gonna be really cool. And so he sent it to me and I read it. It was great. So I'm glad we got one scene, but I think that maybe Daniel can speak to this a little bit, but we were, like I said, we were shooting simultaneously, so it was almost like we were building the character together at the same time, and George was just at the helm of, directing that and making sure we were both growing in the right way through the performance and the life of the shoot. What'd you think, Daniel?
Yeah, I think the same thing. And me and you had like lunch together in your trailer sometimes off set, and it was just great. And me and Tye actually have a relation in real life now, and I love him so much, like my big brother. And
love you too, buddy.
Love you too. And the scene that we got together was just great, and the way George made it up was just impeccable, and it was great.
He's got to swear a lot.
That's what he was most excited about. He liked to slap me in the head. He was like, yeah, this is fun. This is the best scene in the movie.
Ben, here's a question that came in for you. In the film, JR looks up to Uncle Charlie not only as a father figure, but as a guy who he admires. When you were growing up, who in your life did you most look up to?
I had a number of people in my life that I was lucky enough to have really support me, in particular as regards like my ambitions. My father, interestingly, was also a guy who was a self-taught guy and didn't go to college and was kind of a similar sort of reverse class snob, and but was very, very interested in language and writing and storytelling, and imbued in me at a young age an appreciation for that. And that you didn't have to be a fancy person or a rich person or, have gone to a cool school to use language well and to understand it, understand the power of storytelling. It was kind of available to everybody in a very democratic way. My godfather, Jack McNeese, has been an extremely important figure in my life, my whole life, in so many ways. And ultimately, I had a drama teacher who was extraordinarily inspiring and influential, and without whose genuine belief, at least I believed he believed in me. I don't know whether he really did, but he seemed very authentic when he gave me a sense of confidence about going out and being able to do this, and so that I didn't seem reckless and crazy and absurd to just go out to LA and decide that I could, be in movies. And despite the fact that nobody wanted me in their movies or their television show or as an extra or anything, I thought, well, Jerry thinks I'm good, so I probably am, I guess. And that's an incredibly powerful thing that people are able to provide young people as mentors. It's an undervalued role in society, but it makes a huge difference, I think.
Here's a question, Briana, that I thought was really interesting. Sydney is a very complex character in that it's very tough to side with or against her depending on the situation. Is this something that you felt while playing her?
Yes and no. I mean, I hope people feel conflicted on how to feel about her throughout the film. I, as the person playing her, was just an advocate for her and totally on her side. And I don't know, I think I'm glad that there's, we get to see her family. There's a scene with her family, and we get to kind of see the world that she comes from. And I think that I hope that adds an element to her other than being the crazy girlfriend that kind of breaks this guy's heart. She's very complex. I think she's someone who knows what her trajectory is, but is maybe conflicted about what that is, and is still a young person, but understands the world that she's in and where she comes from and the expectations that she has. And I think we're just seeing her figure that out too, and he just happens to get caught in the wake of it.
Yeah.
Can I say something, Dave? 1 second. And I just want to say this for purely selfish reasons, because I like to be right about things and validated later on. Like, George is so good at casting, and but it's no secret that Lily's great, and Chris is great, and Tye, and Bill, all these, he's assembled all these amazing people. And I hope that people remember this movie and like it for a lot of reasons. But I can promise you that this movie will be remembered for sure as Briana's first movie. I watched the performance last night on a big screen, which I hadn't seen it on. And I know there's a lot of, big screen, there's a lot of debate about this, but what is true is the bigger screen is bigger. And watching the nuances in her performance, the delicacy, the honesty, the elegance, the degree to which she didn't judge the character, didn't allow the audience to judge the character, the extraordinary presence that you have. But I don't know, we didn't get to work together, and I'm really sorry now because you're a spectacular actor. And I think you're gonna be I think you're gonna have a really long, successful career, and this will be what her first movie was? There's a little movie, you remember that actor, Ben Affleck, hit the 70s? Anyway, George Clooney, he was a director. That was her first movie. I think all of us will go down as footnotes in your first, as being in your first movie, because you really, I had not seen an actor that come out in the first performance and be that sophisticated, intelligent, and as delicate, and it was, hey, look, what do I know, but I thought you were fabulous, so I just want to say
Thank you, Ben.
And by the way, this is being recorded, so you're going to have that, Briana.
I'm telling you, I want you to tell me I was right. Maybe if
We have 1 minute left, so Tye, I want to finish with you. The question that came in for you, which is JR learns a lot from Uncle Charlie. What is something that you learned from him or from this film experience that you can adapt and use in your everyday life?
Well, I think that's that's super important about every project you take on, right? You feel like you want to make sure it's challenging you and you're growing through it. And I think that this movie, I felt a personal connection to it in so many ways. One, in the relationship that JR has with his mother. I spent a lot of time, just me and my mom, when I was younger, and I think it really made me reflect back on those times. And then and also you're a lot of times you find yourself stuck in life, you find yourself in a rut, you find yourself in desperate need of advice or desperate need for someone to tell you, hey dude, they call you out on your crap, and I think that's exactly, I think Uncle Charlie does that in multiple ways in this film. I think just as we were, talking about last night, how important role models are in your life, how they can make or break you, if you don't have those people in your life. So I think that's one, thing that I learned, through playing this character, but also I think the JR spends so much time longing for, someone or something that he feels is absent in his life. And he comes to realization that, maybe he's been looking in the wrong places, that what he actually needs, what's purely necessary, has been there all along. And I think that we all have that moment in our lives, and it's amazing to have, get to explore that through character, and specifically in this story.
Well, I congratulate you all on a beautiful film. I thank you all for your time this morning. I thank all the journalists for the great questions and for watching. So William and Grant and Ben and Daniel, Lily, Chris, Tye, Briana, thanks so much. And enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
If you like this video, don't forget to comment, to like and subscribe to our channel right here.